Fighters in the UFC are known for throwing each other all over the ring, landing brutal blows, and delivering epic battles. But in this video, we're not talking about the fight inside the cage. No, today we're diving into the fighters who got kicked out of the UFC, not by their opponents, but by the UFC itself. Which fighters couldn't hold on to their spot in the Octagon? Stay tuned, because this is a story of suspensions, controversies, and unexpected goodbyes. Let's start with number 1, and also the first fighter ever to be banned from the UFC, Rousimar Palhares. Palhares was a Brazilian fighter known for his exceptional jiu-jitsu skills, particularly his leg locks, like the heel hook. He had an impressive ability to take his opponents to the ground and hold them in painful submissions. However, his career was cut short after he was repeatedly caught holding onto submissions even after his opponent had tapped or submitted. The most infamous incident was his fight against Mike Pierce in 2013, where Palhares continued to hold onto the heel hook, even though Pierce had already tapped. This raised concerns about the safety of other fighters and ultimately led to his ban from the UFC. So while Palhares was certainly a talented fighter, his actions led to an early and definitive end to his UFC career. For the next fighter, we're going to discuss something that many think only happens during soccer matches. But no, it also happens in the Octagon. Fighting. And it was Igor Severino who was banned from the UFC because of this behavior. But before we dive into that, let's first talk about his talent. Igor Severino was a Brazilian fighter known for his strong ground game and impressive fighting style. He definitely had talent and was a dangerous opponent in the cage. His career seemed promising, and he had already achieved some success, but his behavior in the Octagon would eventually lead to his downfall. Severino was caught biting his opponent, which cost him his spot in the UFC. Such behavior is, of course, not tolerated in the MMA world, leading to his suspension and banishment from the organization. So while Severino had undeniable skills, this incident was a major turning point in his UFC career. The next person who was removed from the UFC is Mohamed Mokaev. This person is from Dagestan and, like his countrymen, is very good at wrestling. Unfortunately, that was also the reason for his removal from the UFC. He was removed from the organization because they felt he was wrestling too much. This is what he thought about it.
I've been told, listen, you need to put performance, like go out there and take the risks if you want a new contract. I've been told by that it wasn't something that the trouble I did outside the hotel. It didn't help, but it wasn't the main reason. It was all about the performance, and I don't think it's fair because we are mixed martial arts, and I was 23 years old when I was 7-0 in UFC, and they have to understand that that I cannot be the best Mokaev, like flying knees and stuff every fight. Sometimes fight can be ugly. It depends on the opponents as well. It depends on opponents, and basically I felt that I'm gonna get caught.
Don't worry, the video isn't over yet. But someone who was worried because something ended too quickly, at least in his eyes, was UFC fighter Jason High. In 2014, he lost a fight after the referee stopped it. High felt it was stopped too early and, out of frustration, shoved the referee. That is absolutely not allowed in the UFC. As a result, he was immediately released and also received a suspension. It just shows. Something that happens in a single second can affect your entire future.
Lastly, we're going to talk about Josh Barnett, one of the most intriguing heavyweights in MMA history. Barnett was known as an exceptionally well-rounded fighter. He combined classic catch wrestling with heavy ground and pound and surprisingly technical kickboxing. At a time when many heavyweights relied mainly on raw power, he stood out because of his technique, composure, and strategic mindset. He fought intelligently and patiently, and on the ground he was especially dangerous, slowly breaking opponents down with submissions. In 2002, he reached the peak of his career when he won the heavyweight title in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. He became one of the youngest UFC heavyweight champions ever. But shortly after his victory, controversy struck. Barnett tested positive for anabolic steroids. As a result, his title was stripped and his contract was terminated.
Those were the fighters banned from the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Which fighter did we forget? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss this kind of content.